Right, welcome everybody. Right, I've got a little helper who doesn't want me to do the work. No. I know. Good. Anyway, right, so welcome back to yet another paper weaving basketry tutorial. This time, don't worry, we are not going to make this big bag. We are instead, hang on, zoom in a little bit, we are making something that is only about yay wide. This short, so about a third of this one, so it's not as daunting as having to make a larger one. And this is made with the ever famous Windmill Knot. Now I've seen the Windmill Knot around the world in all sorts of countries, cultures, materials. It seems to be something that has been around for, I don't know, many hundreds if not thousands of years, because apparently it's quite easy. And I have made items with it, with harakeke, and for those of you who are interested in it, it's also in one of the McPendergrass books. I think it's the Fun with Flax. So it's not a unique thing to do. It's just the knot itself is, in my opinion, but that's just me, is fairly straightforward, easy, this one. Funnily enough, the paper is, or the Kamihimo paper is sort of a Japanese art, and they call this knot Japanese knot. So, and I'm pretty sure I've seen someone in Europe calling it a German knot as well, and I am German, but I can't tell you if this is really a German knot, so don't quote me on that. I just call it the Windmill Knot, and that's the way I learned it under, and I really don't know where it comes from. I don't think anybody knows without proof. Anyway, so we're making about a third and just one handle, so that is then easy for anybody to follow, hopefully, and is not as daunting as having to make something as large as this or even larger for a start. So we again using our paper band, and this is the light brown from the Kamihimo paper strips, and we're also using one strip that I had left over and I don't want to sort of waste it, so I'm using it, of the light blue, and that's the last light blue I have at the moment because it seems to fly out the door as quickly as we get it in, and it takes a while to get the orders in from the manufacturer because we're importing these, and it does sometimes can take up to 4 or 5 weeks before we get the next delivery, and then it gets sold up at customs here in New Zealand, so bear with us if your favorite color isn't available. This one is really the last lot of the light blue that I have, and it's obviously for my own use. Still got plenty of the light brown though. And like with the other paper video, because the measurements of this are quite accurate, I will use my ruler again. Let's just put it into shot for this. And then the other thing what you will need is the glue. This is the quick setting wood glue. I buy this at Maitre 10. Then also you will need some pegs, maybe. They always come in handy. Pair of scissors, obviously, to cut these strips, and that's for time being pretty much it. I will cut these strips in and I'll show you how to split them, because if you've watched one of the other videos or any of our short videos, you know that these paper strips are essentially 12 individual ropes of of rolled paper that's made with a machine and then glued together under high pressure, and so you have a band. And then, as you can see, we're only using, and so this is 12 strand wide. And for this project, we're only using 6 strands wide, so that's half, which means they have to be split, of course. And I'll show you how to do that. And there's a couple of different ways of doing it, and I'll show you a couple. And then you can come up with your own perfect tool or way to do it, up to you. But I'll get these measured first, and then I give you the measurements again on the video itself. Rightio, so welcome back. So I've cut all these, and just for those of you who are interested, as I said, I've had the blue left over, and so this is what is now left over from this pack that we had, right? So this can be used for another project, a smaller project at that, maybe I don't know, you know, maybe little bangles or something, or if you get 2 packs, you can make another one of those little baskets, or you can make it a little bit bigger. It's totally up to you, really. So, but for this size that we are doing now, which is roughly, like the bag itself, going to be about 11 centimeters long, roughly. About 7.5 to 8 high and about 7 centimeters wide. Now, I highly recommend, if you follow this one, you can just follow the instructions as they are. But if you want to calculate your own knot size and what you would need, to use a bit of leftover bits of the paper and make a knot, and then measure, and then undo it again, and then measure how long that strip is with your tension, because it's different for everybody. So for me, I've done that, so I know that with the 6 strip wide, with the 6 strip width rather, my knot is 6 centimeters long. So I'm using 6 centimeters of this to make one knot. And once you know that, when you know that one knot is 6 centimeters, you can calculate how long the actual craft band needs to be, depending on also the width and the height and, you know, and that sort of thing. So we can go into that in detail in another video, how to work this out. But let's just say every person is different. So for me, it might be 6 centimeters. For the next person, it might be 5.5, or for the next person, 6.5 or 7. And that doesn't sound like much, but if you make it over a larger area like this bag, it ends up being 20 or 30 centimeters that you need more. And of course, if the material is, if you haven't got enough, then that's a problem. So, but for this one, and I'm showing you in a minute how they are split as well. So in the moment, we're needing, for this little bag, we need 4 strips of 6 lines or 6 bands width, 6 strips width, which is this width, right? So 6 meaning, if I take it up to the camera, if you can see it, hang on, get a pen. Right, so you can see, so there's individual little lines, and they basically those rolled up paper lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is essentially half the width of this, which is 12. So we will split these in half. So what we need for the little bag is 4 half width strips at 94 centimeters long. Then we need 6 that I need to be 82 centimeters. Then these ones where we have like one strip in a different color, these are our weaving strips, so they are the ones, weaving strips is going to be the ones that are going around like so. Right. So we need 4 of those at 135, they're usually the longest bit, and these 2 things are the handles. or will be the handles. So there will only be one handle in this instance, and that's 60 centimeters, and this is 150. But we again split them. So splitting, you can use scissors, quite tedious. I made myself a little tool out of a paper clip, and I just put some band-aid around it, some tape, and so this is a little, I'll show you, little tool like that. Or you can use, I've got my old top 10 club card, you can use a credit card or something to split it. So depending where you want to split it, so if we were to do these first, and we know they need to be 6 wide, so what I tend to do is, and if you're half blind like me, it really pays to have good light and good glasses, so you count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you, in this case it's half anyway, so it's easier to know, and then you cut it. So you can see there's a little cut, and then you can either use a card. I find this hard, but that's what most of the instructions on the book say, you use a card. Right, so you can go like this, and then it's fairly easy to split. Okay, so and you have those. I'm going to show you the one with the other tool that I normally use. And after a while, you just know where the 6 or 3 or whatever it is because you're using the material so often. And I just put this in there and pull towards me. There you go. Now when the instructions say 4 of 6 wide strips of a certain length, then obviously if the band comes and packs like this, you have to split it, so you only use half of the number. So in this case I only cut 2 lengths of 94 centimeters, because once I split it I end up with 4. I hope that makes sense. And I do this with the rest of these. Now the handle, we only do one handle for this one. The handle is also 6 wide, but the binding strip for the handle, so that would be this bit around here that we bind it with, is only 3 wide. So then the splitting, like this one here, and it's quite long, it's 150. So then you end up, if you make it 3 wide, right, so 3 wide. And then you have obviously 9 left over. And again, you can use them for a different project or for another handle. If you then take another 3 off, then you end up with having just 6. So it's really up to you. So this is much thinner. Okay, so I split these, and then I'll give you the measurements again. Rightio, here we go again. So we need 4 lengths 94 centimeters, 6 lengths of 82 centimeters, 4 lengths of 135 centimeters. Those are the weaving strips that go around the knot. And then for the handle, we need 1 strip of 60 centimeters and the binding strip of 150 centimeters. Now, the width of all but the last are 6 strands wide. And then the last one is only 3 strands wide, which means you don't actually need to cut 4 pieces. For example, for the first one, you cut 2 and then split them in 2, make it 4. And you will have some leftovers, and you can use them for other projects. Hope that makes sense. Right, so they're all split, and I've got some leftover bits that I use for other projects. So again, 94, 82, 135, 60 and 150 centimeters long. 6 wide, 6 wide, 6 wide, 6 wide, 3 wide. And we need 4 of these, 6 of these, 4 of those, 1 of this and 1 of this. So that's how we start. And until we start actually weaving around, we're only working with these two piles for starters, so number 1 and number 2. And we put these ones aside for time being, but it pays to always, I said this in another video, to label them so you know what they are for, right? Right here, so our number 1 strips, these ones, they are 94 centimeters long, and these ones are our horizontal, or sorry, the other way around. These ones are the horizontal strips and these are the vertical strips. These are 94 and these are 82 centimeters. And we grab one of that, one of each times being, right? Put the rest away for time being. And because they're the same, sometimes I mix them up, you know, and then I go, oh, which one was which? So this is the longer one. So this is the number 1. Right, and we have that one. It's a bit too long for the whole screen. We half it because we want to know where the center is. Right, so there's my center. And then this one, we also do a center. So that's the shorter one. And you can crease them like so, you know, like that. And then what you do is, you put, this is number 1, this is number 2, you put number 2 over number 1 like so, right? And then the one from the back, hope you can see this one here, sort of lies next to it. I'll zoom in a little bit to show this again. So put it on like this, right? And then the one from the back we lay next to it, underneath the number 1. So that's what it looks like at the moment. And you see this, like so. Okay. And then what we do is we fold this one, the one that's pointing right. So this is for right-handed people, but you know, it works the other way around as well. We fold this one essentially on itself. Keep them nice and tight next to each other if you can. And then above this one, above the original one, and through the hole, through the loop, right? Like so. Makes sense? So I repeat. Once you get the gist of it, it's very easy. Right, so halfway, halfway. Going on like this. Right. The bottom one stays at the bottom and lays parallel to the original one. Then the one that is now on top here, our original number 1, folds down, sort of slightly parallel, and then comes back up, and then we thread the end through the loop, like so. It's a bit fiddly at the beginning, but it does become easier. And then you just pull this tight on both sides. Not too tight, you want not too squishy, but and then you have your first knot. So that's the front and this is the back. Right. And then you want to add on in that direction and in that direction. So this is our middle. Now at the moment we're not making, how do I say this? So normally when I make these bags, I have a defined middle. Now I don't want to confuse you. But basically I usually work with uneven numbers. So in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Right? A little bit. 15. And then 5 wide, so the middle is right there. And if it's easier, you can mark it. So in this case, because we're working with an even number, I'm still gonna, or it helps if you do this, especially if you're working with just one color at the beginning. Make yourself on the inside like a tiny little, if you can, if the pen is working, maybe use a pencil, a tiny little cross. So you know this is where you started. Okay? So this is your starting point, and then you work your way in that direction first and then in that direction. So you grab your next vertical strip, half it as before. So those are the ones that are 82 centimeters, right? Put it over here, like so. Do the same thing what you did before. Make a loop by pulling this next to each other. Oops, sorry. There we go. Put it next, and try to get as close to the original knot as you can. And then you fold this one down. And you need to thread it through like you did before and poke it through the hole. Right. And then pull. There you go. Now you've got 2. Right. Next one. Half it. Again, goes over this one. As close as possible you can to the original knot. Parallel where you laid it over. You can move your hand around so it's easier to catch it. Fold it. Bring it to the front. Right. Through the hole. You know, there's this sort of hole here. Through the hole. Pull tight and then pull tight in the other direction. So you want them nice and even. Okay, another one. Again, half it. Okay. Next to it, hold it down, bring it to the front, through the hole, or the loop, or whatever you call it, nice and tight, and try and, you can really, with your, between your thumb and your fingers, you can really squish them, these knots. Right. Now we've got 4. So this is our original one. If you turn it over, you can see this is where we've done our little cross. Right. 1, 2, 3. And now we've got 2 strips left, so we put those on the other side. And the reason why we do that is, so you always have a center, because you know, like how we started by halving them. So if you were to go and continue in this direction, then you have way longer on that side and not enough on this side. So you need to center it somehow. Same with these ones in that direction. So that's why you start in the middle and work your way out. That's the easiest way of doing it. And so in order to do that, you turn the whole thing around and then make the last 2 knots in that direction. And that, even though there's only 2 in this direction and 3 in that. It's a little bit off center, but it's not as bad as it would be if we were to continue all on one side. Right, so over, this one next to it, here we go, fold it, bring it to the front, over this one and through this one, or rather under this one, right, pull with directions, there you go, nice and tight, right, and last but not least, this one, same thing, over this, upwards, fold it in, bring it to the front, and through the loop. Right, now, so this is the whole length of our little basket. So we're making it really quite small compared to the other one. So we still have 3 more of these. So what we're doing is we're adding on another 2 on one side and another 1 on the other, so that our actual bag is 4 knots wide. So it's basically this wide, both directions. Right? And again, we're starting on one side now. And what I find easiest to do is, if I line up, like on these 2 ends, right? If I line this up, there you go, how it goes to the end, right? And then I put the knot in that spot. So if you then look at the difference, so see how this is much longer now on that side versus that one. So that means that is our actual weaving strip. So this is the one that's going from this side all the way to the other, and then obviously has leftovers. Right, so as I said, we wanted to do 2 more rows on this side and 1 more row on that side. And we measured this, so we want the short end to be on this side because we're working our way this way. Right, so we put it over the first one here. And so the short end is on top, and the long end, that one, is below. That makes sense. Right? So top end here, long end there, and then just like before, keep it as close as possible to the original knot. And you pull this one up parallel like you did before. This one through. Bring it to the foreground, right, and through the hole. See, through the hole. Oops. There you go. And then again, pull in both directions. Okay. So now we're working with this strip and all of these. So we're not adding any more in at the moment because we just did that. So now we need to work with the existing strips that we already have. So in this case, and we want to have this little gap. See, if you look at it like this, we want to have it like a little square. And funnily enough, that little square is exactly the width of these strips. So that's a hole, essentially. So what we do now is, so this one's coming on top anyway. And then you pull it through, like squish it down. And like before, like we did before, so the bottom one goes back on itself and parallel. That's what we're looking at. And this one folds down nice and tight. And then you thread this one through the hole. Pull it up, squish it. I like squishing through this loop that you now created. There you go, and pull. There you go. Takes a little getting used to, but once you worked it out, it just, you can do it in your sleep. Well, I do it in the car or on the plane, or you know, like this sort of windmill knot. Very easy to do. It looks complicated when you start, but it's very easy to do. So next one, again, keep your square, fold it down, give it a good squish. Trust me, the first one I made, my thumbs were hurting because of the constant squishing. Right, so bring it back up, parallel to itself. There you go, parallel. Fold it down. The one that you just folded down, thread it through the hole. There you go. Bring it up. Yeah. Again, squish it and through the hole, or rather through a loop. There you go. And then you can tighten the loop by pulling. There you go. Next one. Okay. Parallel, push it through the hole, pull up through the loop, and there you go. Now you continue with that until the end. Then you do another one of these and start again on that side in the same fashion. And then you turn the whole thing around and do the last one on the other side. Right? So that you then have 4 wide and 6 long. And I'll see you then. Righty-ho. So hopefully whatever you have looks like this. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 long and 4 wide. Right. So that's our base. And now we get to these weaving strips. Remember, these are 135 centimeters long, and we have one of a different color, which we add in a little bit higher up. So for time being, what we do now is you fold these ones up, and you can be quite literally quite brutal. It just helps keeping it in shape. You don't have to do it, but I always do it. It just makes it easier, in my opinion anyway. Yeah. Alright. And then grab one. There you go. I leave, you know, about that much overhanging. Another squish. And then I don't start right on the corner. I start somewhere in the middle. So in this case, right in the middle of number 3. And I put this along like so that the short end is on top. Let's zoom in a bit. So the short end is on top. And then the same thing, the same knot what you did before. Only that this now is longer. So you parallel it to here. Fold this one down. At the moment, because there is no hole just yet. Oops, I'll come here. Go to the end. Over the short one and through the big one. that's the beginning of your upright row. Next, and still keep your nice little squares. So if you have it flat, so you can see this is still a square. Pull it through, make a loop. Right. Pull down through the hole. Pull tight. Fold it up through the loop, like so, and pull. Next one. That's the last one before the corner. Parallel, just like before. Fold it down. Oops, that up through the hole, up, through, and squash, flatten it out. So now we come to the corner, and it's really not that difficult as long as you remember that we're going from a square to a triangle. So fold it around. And now when you put those two together, can you see this triangle? This here, there. So instead of having a square, sorry, it's a bit of a wonky square, we're making a triangle. Otherwise, it's the same principle. Fold it in, and that's only the first 4 corners. After that you're just going round and round. Right. Next to it, fold it down. This one is always a little tricky because now you haven't got enough space, so you might have to loosen it up a little bit to get through there. There you go. Fold it up. Basically the same thing what you did before. There you go. There's your first corner. So when you now fold this up and look at it sideways, okay, there's the corner. So you continue with this all the way around. Every corner is a triangle. And then I'll show you how we meet at the end. Rightio. So, one way around. So we started here. There you go. This is where we started. Worked our way around. One corner, another corner, flat, another corner. Don't worry if it's a little bit wonky. We can't fix everything, but we can fix a lot at the end. As you can see, because I weave very tight, I've got a lot left over. Once I cut this off, I will use it for other smaller projects. But I've tried this before that I used less and gone very accurate, and then sometimes, every so often, it happens that I then weave a little looser for some reason, and then suddenly I haven't got enough. So if it looks a lot, just leave it. Now, so you have those 2 sides now. Hang on, let's zoom in a little bit. There you go. Here we go. So what you do first is, this one goes into the end, or rather into the beginning. And I find it easier, rather than trying to fit it through, to loosen this off a little bit. See, I'm loosening it off. Put this strip in like so. Right, so I'll pull it. There you go. You can hardly see it, and pop it through a hole. So that's for time being. Then you tighten this one up again. So, right. And then you check inside. And what you do is the one that was originally the beginning, hard to see, this one, you tuck that in through so. If you can, if you have the length. Sorry, they mess with the camera. Hang on, oh wait. Let's just do this, like so. So tuck it in through this. If you have the length, like I do, and you can tuck it in through a second time, that makes it a little bit more sturdy and stable. If you can. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Right, there you go. And then whatever excess you can cut off later. And this one, that's the one we just pulled through from the other side. Do the same. Tuck it in. Yeah, and the second time. There you go. And I tend to cut them off right away, but some people leave them on until they're finished. And I'll show you the other side. So now you can't even see where you started or finished on the outside, and that's the idea. Now your next strip, so you repeat this, you go round and round and round, depending on how big your basket is going to be. In this case, we only have now we only have 3 strips left. So what I'm going to do is I put another one of these brown one on, and then I put the blue one as the third, and then I put as last one another brown one. Zoom out a bit, right? And we've started and finished on this side, so now we start and finish on the opposite side. So we do not try and have the finish, or rather we do try and have the finish not in the same spot each and every time. And once you do that, you can sort of shape it. Once the second row is in place, you can shape it into a more bag shape. So now that I know I've got a lot, like I've got a lot left over, I can make it a little bit longer for starters. Makes it easier to tuck it in later. And the same thing, I'll show you again. So not right on the corner, start sort of in the middle. Put it in like that. Parallel to its original, close to that one. There you go. Squish it, pull it through. The first one is always a bit tricky. Squish it again and through the loop. There you go. And pull. There you go. Nice and tight. That's your start. And then you just continue the same way. And now you don't have to do the triangle because that was really only for the corner. So you try and have little squares all the way around. And I continue with this, and I see you when I've used up the remaining 3 strips. Rightio, so our little mini basket almost done, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 rows high. This is where the corners are going to be. So you can still manipulate this. And now, of course, we need to tuck the ends in. And I mean, there are a number of different ways of how to finish these. Now, the easiest, and that's the one we're starting with, is just to tuck them in. And all you have to do is, really, I'll just show you. So where they come out, just tuck it in to the one right next to it. Yeah. Show you in a second. that you can see this. So there you go. So there, tucked into this. And that's the easiest thing to do. Hang on. Not so easy when you try and do it in front of a camera. And have a band-aid. There you go. This is what we're looking for. So we tuck them all in, and then we cut the excess off, and then we put the handle on. Right. Rightio. So ends all cut off on the inside, as you can see. So this is how we tuck them in, and now we've got this handle. So again, we kind of half it so we know where the middle is. Always makes it easier. There you go. And then we thread it through the middle of the short side. So if you look at it, right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holes essentially, or rather 2 full. These are on the corners, so the middle hole, like so, and the other one on the opposite side. And then we try and overlap them, so we shape them a little bit in place. They're about 5 centimeters overlapping. Roughly. It's not an exact science. I usually just sort of try and work it out. There you go, so this is what we're looking for. And then we glue them, and we glue them all the way up to here at least, right? So easiest way of doing that is the glue. You know the glue, right? Don't go all the way down, because if you do, then you're gluing it onto the basket, and you want to have a little bit of play with it. Always love how they stick together. And then what I tend to do is, so they stay in the same place, and it saves me from getting sore fingers. Put some pegs on it, like so, and then I put some glue on the opposite one, and then put that on as well. And then, just like with the small baskets that we make, I want to let it dry a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Rightio. Come off again. I love these pegs. There you go. I love them in particular because, I'll show you in a second, because they have those sort of flat ends. So there's a bit more of a shape to it, and they're quite strong too. So if you look from this side, so you can see what we've done. Hang on. There we go. So we've glued not all the way down. We leave it a little bit open here on the sides. It doesn't matter at the moment as long as the top is glued together, because then we use these thinner strips for binding. And we leave this a little bit to settle, and then I'll see you back when we do the binding, and then our bag is almost done. Rightio. So, had its 5 minutes, so we take these off. And now, what we're doing is we're wrapping this strip around this one to make it nice and tidy. And I find it easier, sort of, it's just my personal preference really. I put a little bit of glue on at the end, or on both ends really. There we go. Just a little bit. And then tuck it in on one side. There you go. So in the middle. And then hopefully, oops, sometimes it doesn't want to do it. Start wrapping, and sorry for my fingers, they're in the way. Start wrapping it like so. It will become easier, trust me. Yeah. And if you're worried that the glue at the beginning might not be enough, then once you've done a couple of turns, you can put a peg on that side. There you go. Like now. If there's enough space, put a peg on it, and that will keep that end bit in place until the glue has set. And then all you need to do is really just wrap this around tight. And trust me, it's easier to do in your lap than in front of a camera. So I'll do this until I reach the end. Right, so here we go. This is what it looks like now. You see this? And I've got quite a bit left over, but rather have too long than too short. And so what I do now is I put a little bit of glue on that side, right on there. Right. And then thread it through. Middle and tight. Right, so it's going like this, and then I do the same thing. I put a bit of, sometimes I go for a second round. Just hopefully it will be enough. And then what we need to do is, well, what I do is spray this. I can do this already while glue is drying. Just water, and don't worry, you're not destroying the paper. It's quite soaking wet now. And then what you can do is you can shape it. You can make it oval if you like, or you can make it square. Really totally up to you, and press nice down so it stands nice on the bottom, like so. And that way you put it back into shape. You know, when at the beginning I said don't worry about it if it's a little bit loop-sided, you can fix a lot of things at the end. Here we go. Now So I'll let this dry now, and then it's all done.